Welcome back to SANKOFA, and thank you for having us. Thank you for having us on the show with SANKOFA. Wherever you are in the world, we welcome you back. And SANKOFA is one of the best shows where we learn about our identity, who we are, and why we exist as the people of melanin. And also, wherever we are in the world, we still regard ourselves as Africans. And today, I still have my guest here, Sifiso Mthibela, a very we'll say a talented, not just talented, he's respected his calling. And one of his callings is poetry, as we were talking earlier on.
Yes.
So you have prepared something for us?
No, but I'll just flow.
It does flow. There you go.
What if it was you? What if it was you, the one who feels the pain that I felt, the hurt that I felt, the shame that I got, the shame that I got in return, the regret, the sorrow. My heart, my tears were broken, no happiness but sadness. Whose fault it was? My mother, to give birth to this young African psychology. We are born in a world where leaders are thirsty for control. We are born in a world where leaders don't rule the world. We are born in a world where amadlozi is talegiso. We are born in a world where our African spirituality doesn't exist. Africans, who are we? Are we the one that go around killing our forefathers? Are we the one goes around killing our brothers? Africans, what happened to us? Let's go back to our roots. As Africans, umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. Isintu, umuntu. Umuntu umuntu azi ukuthi abantu bayaphila. Kodwa siphila emhlabeni la sazikhona ukuthi isintu namasiko ethu nokhokho bethu kuyisicalekiso. Africans, I urge you to go back to the roots. Let's go back to the calling of our forefathers. What happened to Africa in a country of corruption? Thank you.
Wow, Amako, that was very creative. Now you just flow with it.
Yes.
And you, in your poetry, you said a lot of things that are really inspiring. That takes me back to what you were talking about of who you are, your identity, and
yes,
why you exist. Now I want us to talk about you said you did marketing and then you got this calling. You've been mentioning a certain word about the what I understand that there's development projects
yes,
the crew, the team that, and from what I understand that you've got that team that, tell us about that. When did it start? How did it start? How many are you? Where have you been?
Okay.
So many questions at once.
I work for Impilo Development Projects.
Impilo Development Projects.
Yes, like Impilo Siapila.
Yes.
Impilo, it was conceptualized in the year 2015, but we started operating with performing arts on 2019 as we do other projects. So I've joined Impilo 2018 late, then 2019 we started working. So what happened is that they got a call from other dance project called Dance Africa Dance. Then I went there to do the show, and after the show, I was fortunate enough to be employed by Impilo Development Projects. I started off as a performer up until I did marketing, up until I'm still doing shows, I'm still a performer, and I'm managing the marketing department. So Impilo Development Projects, we have 3 directors, of which it's Piti Mahaye, Numsomi Caroline Mahaye, no Langa Oscar Mahaye.
Okay.
Then we have Sanelisi Mpelo, of which is our programs manager. We have Tabang Mjalose, the one
that you were
I was performing with.
Yeah.
He's our choreographer and he oversees all our artistic development and artistic programs. We have Nomfundo Tabete, she's our admin. Then yeah, we are
and
strong
there's
team.
somebody who's sing. Who's the singer behind the performance?
Or the singer behind the performance, it's Ubabu Matalagunene. We are still trying to get hold of him. So we are hoping by soon we'll get hold of him so that we wish to have him to be part of the project that we are working, because we started working with this project since the 2015. 24th of September last year.
Last year. You only started last year?
Yes, with this, what defines an African.
Oh, okay.
It was a solo pick there, and I did it alone. Then I collaborated with Tabang to, I'll be the voiceover and the narrator. He'll be the spirit and the dancer.
Okay.
So we are trying to grow the production.
Okay.
Yes, we are still working around it. Then Impilo, basically what we do is we create, we teach, we inform. We have many projects that we do. We have arts in schools. We have the Tribe Festival where we gather all the tribes and celebrate our Africanism and all the rituals that we do in Africa in different ways. We see Amazulu doing their things, we see Amandebele, we see Amapere, we see Amaxhosa, and even Izangoma, because we believe that, we know and believe that Izangoma is fun. So we can't just have Utogoza, Shie, Amapere, Moati, Ase, Shi, Likhanya. So we are trying to bring African spirituality amongst the festivals that we are doing.
So you have done one like that before?
Yes, we've done the Tribe Festival last year, and we're still going to do another one this year.
All right, you did like trial. Where can one find that? Well, that would be very interesting.
In our Facebook page, Impilo Development Project.
Okay.
And on our Instagram page, Impilo Development Project. And then we did another festival back in Mnambiti where it started off as auditions.
Yes.
We audition local groups and local artists up until to the main event where we gather them together and create one production. Then we did another show called Unomkhubulwane.
Yes.
Early last year. Then due to COVID, we had problems, so we didn't perform the show.
All right.
Then there's another one that Tabang is still writing called Timbanze, whereby we want to teach about different sangomas eating different timpande, because we believe that no one can figure one. So we're trying to bring that live to the people to show Uguti. As much as we are Africans, there's something that unites us, because our drumming unites us.
Yes.
Our singing unites us. You can go to Nigeria now, you find them singing. Something will move you. If they come here to South Africa and they see us maybe doing Umzansi, doing Shemen, doing Indlamu, something relates. So in our productions or in our shows, we are trying to bring back, I won't say the spirit of Africa, but we are trying to bring back our Africanism so that the future generation can understand Uguti. When we are dancing, we are not just dancing. We speak with our ancestors, especially when we do traditional dances. Something is happening.
What it means.
You understand?
Yes.
So the connection, yes, the connection with lesa skhumba lesa esasiyinkomo now sesiyisikhumba sikudrum, with me hitting the drum, the connection with me mangidansa ngishaya inhlabathi mayiphakama nabo balele lapha phansi yabo wonke lo msindo loyo. So we are trying to everything esiyenzayo, we are trying ukuthi ibe ne message, kungabe ukuthi we are doing entertainment. Basically we're not doing entertainment, it's entertainment, because wonke ama production wethu nama shows wethu nama workshops esiwenzayo, we try by all means ukuthi one have to learn something, not just to wow, that's a nice piece with nice movements, okay, blah 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 blah. You go home, you just crazy about the movements, but the message behind, the storyline, the motive, why uzuthenga tickets la ukuthi uzobukela leyo show leyo. So basically Impilo, that's what we're doing. We're trying to teach, especially young people. We work with kids from esikolweni. There's an art in school that they're doing, because we believe ukuthi not everyone angaba a sport person. So performing arts, it's excluded esikolweni. Even the curriculum abafundisa ngayo yabo, it's when they're doing dance, they're not doing anything. Period arts and culture. So there are schools that we're working with. We go to schools. When Tiwa sends music, we do music straight. When they have to do poetry, we do poetry. When they have to do dance, we do dance with them. So that we prepare them with, if after they done their matric, they want to pursue performing arts, they do have a background, a full look. Okay, now I understand what is a monologue, what is a melodrama, what in terms of drumming, how do I do drumming? In terms of instrument, how do I play African instruments? As you can see, ever since the show or African language, black people, we don't know our languages, we don't understand our languages. So even know what defines an African, we had to translate it to English so that some of our fellow Africans can understand the show. Because when we do it with Peri or Zulu or Xhosa, people get lost. They don't understand. So we are trying to teach our peers, especially our peers, so that, you know, guys, obaba bazoshona, isikhathi sabo sizophela, yithi kumele siphathe imizwa yobaba. Siyoba obaba abanjani singazazi thina ukuthi sobani. How are we going to make sure that our country is safe? As we can see now, our country, it's a mess. It's a mess in such a way, even kings don't have voices to say, no, guys, we have done 1, 2, 3, 4, let's done 1, 2, 3, 4. No, we are just doing anything for the sake of living. So we need to go back to our roots, find the cause, or like Africans have turned against Africans. So there's a lot that we as Africans, we need to consider.
But we need to start somewhere. When you're talking of igazi lachitheka, and for us to be able now, when you say we're going forward, we need to start somewhere. I'm just thinking aloud to say, you know, there's a lot of cleansing that needs to be done.
Yes.
There's a lot of spiritual cleansing. Before we can even say now, let's start breathing, because right now I feel that we're operating on a very congested spiritual state, you know, and it makes it difficult for many of those who are not spiritually strong enough or inclined to break through and be able to receive and adapt to the situation. And I like the fact that you're mentioning Ugita. As you mentioned, when you're doing uketa, the dance, and you put the feet down on the ground and the connection and everything, and you're doing that as a non-sangoma, so to speak, umuntu othwasile, or so to speak. But now it takes me back to this understanding that ingoma, umngoma, I can say umngoma, usebenza ngengoma, ukwazi connect and speak to the ancestors, and that's where now I will take it back to the colonialism, that our terminology has been played around, because we are indigenous healers. We're not just there's more to being umngoma for us to then incorporate all those things, because we dance a lot, you know, we gather a lot. But now when you're doing the gathering, it doesn't necessarily classify you to be the indigenous healer. That is like an extra, I would say, gift that one has. And I like that understanding from you, when you're doing that dance, you're not just dancing because you're so excited or it's just nice performance, but you understand what you're doing, and you expect something in return from the universe, and also from the ancestors. And for also, it's quite interesting what you guys doing at Impilo, because you collaborating all the tribes. You take everybody, because at the end of the day we are one. You know, we can be in different countries, we can be in different globally, wherever we are, but we are one. This is just the cover of the actual spirituality. And now you mentioned something which is very, very interesting. I would like to divert a bit, whereby you said the indigenous healers, they're different. I like that concept, whereby acknowledging the what you call it, the uniqueness of Abangoma. Tell me more, what inspired you to pull that in? Because when like, for example, here in South Africa, for those who are far from one not in South Africa, and specifically in the certain provinces, we find that certain indigenous healers dominate than the others, whereby everyone is Togoza, and I'm sure most people, when I say Kamako, will be like, oh, so you're from Eastern Cape, automatically say, and others will be like Lisedi and all that. Tell me from that angle, what really inspired you to say, let me look deeper into these other types of healers?
As I've said before, a tree can't deny its roots. So growing up, I've seen a lot of sangomas, especially the Togoza sangomas, because I'm from Mpumalanga originally. I've traveled to Eastern Cape, so Kamako, traveled to Limpopo, get Ashe and stuff. Then I've did my own research, understanding basically why are we all Africans but still practicing African spirituality in a different way.
Yes.
So I started by understanding what is Umndiki, what is Umndau. You understand? Understanding the basics, the basic thing ukuthi umuntu okusuka kuthiwa unomndau umuntu onjani umuntu okuthiwa unomndiki.
You're triggering me there.
Umuntu
you trigger me when I say that. I just, because for me to say, just share with those just on a basic level, your understanding, you will share that with
so us. When I get to research, I understand ukuthi umndiki is now called umndiki, but before bewu umdingi, someone or swele. Umndau bewu umndau. Okay, like right now I'll make a practical example. This is your studio. Umndau umdingi. So if I ngiyashona la kule ndawo le spirit sam salala, spirit sam possesses someone. Ubani ushonile umdingi oshonele endaweni yani yomndau. You understand? So isikhathi masamba we find ukuthi abantu they misspell or they misinterpret, they do their certain things. They don't understand ukuthi these spirits omunye uzokutshela ukuthi umndiki umuntu owashonela empini. You understand? Zonke lezi zinto lezo then.
And just to come in on that one, my listeners and our watchers, what he's explaining is the different types of spirits that we most of us possess and we have come across. And he speaks of umndiki and he speaks of umndau. And when he explains these spirits, he just made it a simple, basic explanation of what mdiki could be, what mdiki is in his own understanding, and which I would say part of it I do agree, and also he explains what umndau is. And I want you to understand that this doesn't necessarily relate to South Africa only. It relates to everyone, to human race globally, wherever you are in the world. We all have such ancestors within our beings.
As I proceed, so people just misinterpret African spirituality instead of telling it as it is, like they want to put spices and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Me young group as because I'm proud to be black and I'm proud to be an African. So that's why I've done this research, to understand better. You understand? So you'd find even but we black people, we don't respect water. How can one say my forefathers stay in the rivers or they stay in the sea, and yet you don't respect those sacred places? We do everything, like as now beaches were closed, people were going to the streams, not understanding what they're doing in the streams. What spirits do we have in the streams?
Just go there.
You understand? We just go with the flow. And
others are being swallowed by the water, don't understanding that there's certain rituals they need to do before they can even go there.
So we will perish because we lack the knowledge that our forefathers have. We'll perish because we don't want to tell the truth about who we are. But if we can stand firm and say, no guys, we are Africans, we live in Africa, let's live in African way, all these social ills will just disappear. Because now we want to be modern and yet we want to be traditional. No. Even the Bible says that you need to have one king. We do acknowledge Umbeli. We cannot say he's not there. We know that Umbeli Khona. We need to acknowledge our ancestors as a guideline or a direction that will direct us. Okay, we as black people, whenever we have a problem, nowadays we don't have that. There's no imbizo. My peers are smoking drugs.
Bizo, it's when it's a meeting that used to happen back in the days, whereby certain issues that would have to be discussed by the community, and then a chief or the king of that particular area will then blow a whistle that everyone must come together. It's like in our day we call it lechotla. Now it's been modified to that, and so whereby certain constitutions and rules and laws and regulations would have to be discussed and agreed upon. And Saru, just to cut you off a bit, Sifiso, you mentioned that you're more an African. Now, I'm just in my head, back of my head, I'm just thinking about many of our viewers who are as far as USA, Canada, Australia, Japan, China, and they are there because of the economical situations. So now one would say, I want to practice my Africanism. I want to partake and still connect to my African or to my roots, so to speak. And my understanding that the reason you bring up more African is that understanding that we all come from the continent of Africa. Yes. We may be wherever we are at the end of the day, but the root and the foundation is here. So now, what can you advise on that particular space as you're so emphasizing it? And I understand well and good, but now from that angle, I'm just triggering your mind.
I do believe that we all carry certain spirits in our bodies. So wherever you are, you can talk with your ancestors. There are many ways to communicate with our ancestors. Some pen in paper, some use box, or some use snake, some use amanzi, some use impupu. It's just that umkhuba esekuthiwa wenziwa kini nenza kanjani. Umuntu noma kungathiwa I go to tour, I go to China, I'll still communicate with my ancestors because I know, okay, for example, if I have a white cloth, I can just take a white cloth, ngibeke la, start reciting my clan names. Basically, I'll connect with my ancestors. It's just that umkhuba osetshenziswa ekhaya, I do believe ukuthi umuntu nomuntu makangazi ukuthi which way they do use kubo to communicate with his or her ancestors.
You know, not knowing where you come from, not knowing your identity, not knowing your roots and your foundation as a person, as a human race, that will lead you to not being able to connect to the source of your core or your being or the universe. And that is very critical, that now the challenge is go back and find out who are you, and that way you'll be able to connect with your ancestors wherever you are in the world. The spirits runs and travels as far as to the end of the earth. We'll see you now. Just a quick break. Stay with us.
Make massive moves.
Isn't that your daughter's bib?
But the truth is, I feel like Arabella's always with me.
Don't you ever forget this man's face. He killed your brother.
Don't shoot! Please don't shoot! Don't shoot!
Make massive moves with Starside.
I want you to eat healthy food because it's delicious.
Make massive moves.
Would you like another one?
I love it.
I love this too. This is amazing. The grits are so creamy. Oh,
I take pride in my grits.
so flavorful.
I think that looks wonderful.
Yeah.
It's so incredible. Make massive moves with Starside. Make massive moves.
Bible is human and divine.
It's important for us to remember.
And I'm part of God's story.
Yeah, mama, hey. God is healing you.
God says what he means, and he means what he says.
God is good.
I am very grateful to God. I am healed.
Amen.
Make massive moves with Starside.
Africa. Who are we? Are we Africans because we are black? Or are we Africans because black is African? In case we have forgotten, who are we? Are we Africans because we live in Africa? Or are we Africans because Africa lives within us? In case we have forgotten, who are we? Are we Africans because of the languages we speak? Or are we Africans because the languages we speak are African? In case we have forgotten, who are we? Are we Africans because we are born in Africa? Or are we Africans because Africa is born within us? In case we have forgotten, who are we? We are the ancient people of the origin, the people of Embo, Abangoni. We use our ancient ways to communicate with our forefathers. We use our ancient ways to communicate with Umbelinang, with the assistance from Udomunang, the one who came from the rich waters, the one who came to guide and lead us. What a band, Africa! 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 Africans have never been raped. We have never fought over race, but we have fought over war. Right now, in this present moment, we call upon the spirit of our forefathers. We call upon the spirit of our ancestors to come and be with us, to come and cleanse all this land. Boko kuna bomkhulu. Ni nakhula silibele. Ni no mathibelo khwenu uhlahlandlela odubazana. Ombonetswa yini? Isakabuli. Ni na nyone engabona amavile ebona egogo zodwa. Ni no manakazela napheka notswayi kwasalutswayi kwavuthwaneni. Kwathuntulo ehleze ebandla. Lavela uthuli libophile. Babaleka bonke. Kwasalukhweni ehlahla ngomzimba. With this water we cleanse our land. With this water we cleanse ourselves. With this incense, we call upon the spirit of our forefathers to come and be with us, to come and guide us. With this water, we cleanse our land. May all the spirit of gender-based violence go. May all the spirit of Miss African spirituality go. May all the spirit of killing black people go. Boko kuna bomkhulu. Ni nakhula silibele. Ni no mathibelo khwenu umhlahlandlela odubazana. Ombonetswa yini? Isakabuli. Inyone engabona amavile ebona egogo zodwa. We thank you for protecting and being with us. Oh, kokona bomkhulu. Ni nakhula silibele. Ni no mathibelo. Okhweni. Ohlahlandlela. Odubazana. Ombonetswa yini? Isakabuli. Inyone engabona amavile ebona egogo zodwa. We thank you for cleansing our land. With this incense, we call upon the spirit of our forefathers. With this water, we cleanse all the killings, all the bad rituals. Boko kuna bomkhulu. Ni nakhula silibele. Ni no mathibela. Okhweni, ohlahlandlela, odubazana, ombonetswa yini, isakabula, inyone engabona amavila, ebona egogo zodwa. Ni no manakazela, napheka notswayi, kwasalutswayi kwavuthwana. Kwathuntulo ehlezi ebandla. Livelile uthuli bophile. Babaleka bonke esalukhweni ehlahla ngomzimba. Oh boko. Ni nakhula silibele.
inguzunga yani lenangu sayona makaka siege nitini ngoto bamusemuile izingomo zoba.
This is the village of Noxton. Down here somewhere in the Eastern Cape. Somewhere far away where nobody ever goes. And
welcome back to SANKOFA, and we're here again with our host, with our guest, Sifiso Mthibela, and me being your host, Gogo Majola, Dr. Mvoko. And you just watched a beautiful, beautiful performance, and that is what defines Sifiso to be here. And Sifiso, tell us about that performance.
What defines an African? Okay. As I've said before, there's a lot that doesn't define us, that was supposed to define us. Our languages, color of our skins, living here in Africa, or being born here in Africa. All these four things to me, they don't make sense, or they don't connect somewhere, somehow. Because as I'm sitting here with you, we are Africans, but yet maybe do have few beliefs that they are mutual, maybe the rest are not mutual. So amongst our society, there's a lot that breaks us as Africans rather than something that combines us together. Even it causing havoc around, because you'd find a black man turning against a black man because he's from Nigeria or wherever. So the piece basically speaks about the drumming, African drumming, the dancing. Then the narrating, it's all about stating the important things that we need to do as Africans. You understand that back then, each and every household used to have a kraal, or a place where amakhetla wakhona will gather there and akhulume indaba zakhona. Back then, umfazi makalotshuliwe, okay, nakuthiwa amalobolo, but it's amalobola. You understand?
And even that word on its own can be unpacked. It's misinterpreted.
It's misspelled and misinterpreted. Back then, there were certain rituals that they did before a young boy or a young man can go and pay amalobola. So this piece basically tells us more about those rituals. If you can see, the first sequence, it's about me asking the audience, who are we?
Yes.
The second sequence, it's about us doing a ritual of cleansing the land, because now our land, it's dirty. The third scene, it's about us portraying the birth of the child, that we take the child to the kraal. The third scene, the fourth scene, it's about the kraal and the importance of our animals, because animals do speak. So animals, we do rituals with the animals when we want to cleanse or when we want to grow. There are certain parts of the animals that we need. So the fifth part is talking about the dead. How do we bury in Africa? So the piece, it's more of rituals that we need to do. It's more of the how part. How do we do this? How do we do this? How do we do this? Because we've noticed that our skin color, our languages, living here in Africa or being born in here in Africa, it doesn't define us. But if you check these different tribes that we do have in Africa, or let's say here in South Africa, somewhere, somehow, there's something that it's the same. There's something where...
There's some similarity.
Yes, there's somewhere where we do izinto ezifanayo.
Yes.
So all those rituals, they are the one that connects us as African. If we can siqikelele kuwo, sihlale kuwo ama rituals wethu, most of the things zingaphela. Because as ukusha umuntu nokulwa nomuntu, you don't know who you're hitting.
When you hit a person,
you don't understand
know who you're hitting.
Unamapa ama spirits kuye ushaya ubani wakubani wenza. You understand, if you can understand all those things, yonke lemhlolo esibona la emhlabeni ingathi ukehla kancane. But because now we don't understand the importance of the rituals that we need to do as black people, so you'll find ukuthi it's easy umuntu ukuthi akhiphe isibhama bulala umuntu. It's easy for umuntu ukuthi ashaya umuntu wesifazane. Because if you can check, umuntu wesifazane kudala mathiwa sekaloboliwe, no matter what she can do, ihusband yakhe ayikwazi ukumxosha kulowo muzi loyo ukuthi hamba uhlala komunye umuzi ohamba wakho. Ifana ukuthi uzoba nomuzi wakhe in the back. You understand? Because there are certain rituals esewenziwe wa connect with ancestors were like her. But now it's simple.
Sorry to interrupt on that one, Sifiso. You're saying something very, very critical on that aspect when you say that back in the days when the dowry has been paid of that woman. So now when you decide that no, as angisayitholi kahle lento yenzeka phakathi kwethu angisakufuni kwasho kwacema, let's leave each other, let's cut this and end this, then you cannot chase away that person, that woman. You have to build a house for that
because now she's part of the family. Like if you can see, we have a brother-in-law, sister-in-law, father-in-law, whatsoever, but you don't have a woman-in-law because a woman, she's the law herself. So you can't chase.
Did you get that? Women are laws themselves.
You can't chase Idlozel Kula like her because at the end of the day, she's the one that she's going to prepare all the ceremonies and all the rituals that we're going to do here at home. So if you chase that person, do you understand what are you chasing?
You've done.
You understand what are you divorcing if you go to the court and say, no, I'm fed up with this woman, I'm divorcing. So if you can just understand who we are and live the way that our forefathers used to live, our country or our world will be much better. Because hitting a woman back then it was
now
forbidden.
We talk about the other one. There's a segment where you talk about gender-based violence.
Yes, it was. But right now, each and every day, gender-based violence. Why?
It has become a norm.
Yes, and we don't have solutions. So, I think we have to question the way we live now. Because if you can check the way they live back then and the way we live now, there's a lot that has changed.
What solution can one have in that aspect of gender-based violence based on the SANKOFA methodology from your perspective?
It begins at home. Respecting your parents. Knowing ukuthi umuntu wesimame kini uyini. Noma kuthiwa usisi wakho uzoshada komunye umuzi. But understanding ukuthi yiphi role abantu besifazana abayidlalayo empilweni zethu. If you can find, so uphuma kancane isihlokweni sethu, if you can find most of abantu abathwasile banezalukwazi than amakhehla. Why izalukwazi zikwazi ukudominate than amakhehla? If abanye abantu they can start checking it lapho ukuthi izalukwazi abantu abaningi abathwasile banezalukwazi kusho kona ukuthi umuntu wesifazane yahlonishwa. So if we can understand ukubaleka komuntu wesifazane, you'll never akazi kwathiwa abafana abakhuphukela entabeni bothandazela imvula. But women, females, they go to the mountain and pray for rain. You understand ukuthi there's a lot that they're carrying. So if we can start by respecting women and understanding ukuthi bayini kithi thina siyini kimi angeke umshaya umuntu wesifazane. If you know ukuthi uphuma lapha kini kwakhe hamba yothandaza imvula ingane and you do believe ukuthi ngokuthandaza kwakhe imvula ingane khona umehluko uzowenzeka, how do umshaya kanjani lo muntu loyo? Because you respect and understand ukuthi lo muntu nje. But now they have turned into toys.
Yes.
You understand? So that's why umhlaba uhlangahlangene so because seba mothoys ethu nje abafana kula sihlalela khona. We don't have games anymore.
We've lost conscience, so to speak.
Yes, we don't have games anymore. Like back then, they used to do stick fight or whatsoever that they do. Nowadays, ayikho lento leyo. So the only toy that thina abantu besilisa sinabo manje ukudlala ngabantu besifazane and not understanding ukuthi ukudlala ngabantu besifazane sibulala isizwe because yibo abaphinde basizale futhi umshaya kanjani umuntu okuzalayo. You understand?
How do you beat somebody who gives birth to you?
Gender based violence, I think ukuthi kumele siqale silusane nayo emakhaya.
Ukuthi
umntwana makaphuma
charity begins at home.
Ngiyodlala nomntwana wentombazana kumele ngimtreat kanjani. You understand? So ukuphuma kithi ngazi ukuthi umuntu osifazane kumele ngidlale naye kanjani ngimtreat njani nomunye umfana azi ukuthi umuntu osifazane kumele adlale naye kanjani umhlaba wethu ngabangcono. Another thing, we need ama-gatherings wabantu besilisa, especially my age group, whereby we know ukuthi uyini umuntu wesilisa, what is expected of me, ukuthi njengoba ngikhula kumele ngikhule ngibe njani, ngiphile kanjani, yiziphi indlela kumele ngizame. You would find ukuthi esikhathini esiningi siba nomkhosi womhlanga, then after umkhosi womhlanga for abafana sibi nalutho, then egcineni yiko kenzeka lezi zinto lezi senzayo. So masingathola ukuzibalansisa lezi zinto lezi wethu, as much as siba nomkhosi womhlanga, have something for the boys, whereby we will be trained nathi ukuthi umuntu wesilisa abafana uyiphatha kanje 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 loku naloku 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 naloku, we don't need to do.
But on that one, I understand that some cultures they do have a process or that whereby a ritual whereby boys have to go to the mountains, and others they don't have, others they do. So what you're saying that it should be a standard for all African tribes that men should have certain teachings or certain schools, certain time
teachings, even
that they have to adapt to.
Yes, necessarily doesn't mean you have to be initiation school.
Yes,
we can just have a men's gathering, whereby we're just going to be taught about what is a man, what is expected for us to do as males. I think that it will be much better, because now the only thing that we know is that I have to have girlfriends, not a girlfriend. Then I'll go with the flow up until I decide who am I going to marry. Even you don't understand the marrying part, ngimshatelani umuntu wesifazane, why ngisuza umuntu kiba ngizomletha la kithi, ngimletha ukuthi azoyenzani. And another thing, back then they had arranged marriages. I don't say now we need to go back and have arranged marriages, but
why not?
They were much better. Okay, we live in a different world now, and we need to understand that very well, that people now have rights and responsibilities. So if they can say maybe they arrange a marriage for me, I'll question them a lot. Why this? Why not that? No, I think I deserve this. No, this won't work for me. You understand? So we need to understand that umshado awuhlanganisa abantu abawu-2 abaphilayo so emhlabeni. Their ancestors have to meet wherever that they're going to meet. Bavumelane bona before whatever that is going to happen. So that no matter what happens in their relationship, their ancestors are there with them. Their God is there with them. But you'll find right now ukuthi abantu sebayajola for the sake of showing ukuthi bajola, they are in different relationships. That's why we encounter most of the problems. That's what I encounter. Because into, okay, I do believe in ancestors. I do believe ukuthi lozini nesikhwele malingafuni uyenza into angeke uyenze. Uthanda ungathanda bazoyithola indlela ukuthi istophe lento leyo engenzeki. So ukungazazi ukuthi sikuthi sibubani kuyenza sikhohle yonke lento leyo. Sesenza izinto for the sake ukuthi ngani umngane wami bani uyayenza. So nami I'm fit enough to do it. But if njengoba ngishilo icala ekhaya bang understand this ukuthi okay mfana songaka manje, and if we say we are ready to marry, bringing that girl here umlobole ezela khaya simthele ngenyongo, wena uchaza ukuthi 1 2 3 4 5 6 automatically sezishintshile empilweni yakho. Then nami ngazi ukuthi ngena lapha ngenzani, not for the sake ukuthi sengimdala I have to get married and all that stuff, but understanding very well ukuthi ngiyenzani nabo basikhaya ba understand ukuthi now sekunomuntu omusha engizophila naye and all that. I think singaba right.
You know, you just mentioned a lot of mouthful things that are very, I think, are critical, and one of them being to say, I'll put it as an improvement that we need to do as Africans or as people of black race, that wherever we are in the world, we can still maintain certain rituals. For example, the one of them being having the men's gathering, whereby you don't have to now sort of go back to the village to have these gatherings whereby men coach each other and still build each other. Our malume, what are they there for? Yes. Our elders. It doesn't have to be your relative with blood. It can be somebody that you look up to as umalume wako. And what I've realized in the Western culture, they've created this word mentors. And mentors in our sense, it's abantu abadala who've walked the path before us. Yes. So I challenge most of men out there, wherever you are globally, please start something. Call each other, group each other as young men, pull that masculine energy together, groom it and build it so that you can be able to make a difference. It doesn't have to be huge difference, but the little difference that you can make can really make a lot of a change in somebody else's life and somebody else's home. And another thing that you mentioned, Ugote, from the spiritual perspective, when you have a woman and you have different relationships and all that. From my, when I'm thinking from looking at from the indigenous as Umgoma, and I understand the spirits that yes. we come across. So I'm with Sifiso today, and I'm with Sipo tomorrow, and I'm with the Temba the other day. I'm engaging with all those spirits, you know, and I personally, one person now with these three different men who have their own ancestors and their own spirits and their own curses and whatever, then I incorporate all that to myself. Then I wonder, hey, why things are going why? Same likewise for a man, you be changing Uzodwa, you're changing to Natalie and go to Tasha and all that. All these women, you come to them, you bring to them together in your body, then you wonder why things are going otherwise. And just a matter of understanding that the spirits that we carry, we need to really be very cognizant of. Precisely. You know, because as you mentioned now, Ugotim, this woman that you've lobolat and everything, now she's in this house. When you decide to go to Mkoshe, you are the one who's chasing away the blessings of the home. Yes. Then you'll wonder why after you have chased that woman away, everything goes otherwise. And another thing that you mentioned, which I like, which is very critical, which is key, it's something that we don't necessarily most of us consider. The issue of be consulting to the ancestors when you say now that we have this person or there's someone that yes. you are interested in, you want to marry and whatever, that consultation we no longer do, most of us. We just go with the flow. Hey, my heart beats fast when I see you. Hey, what happens? And then let's go with this. You know, then we forget the actual reason why we even bonded to, and because most of us may not be led by the flesh, you know, we don't tap into the spirituality. Why is that person in my life at that particular moment? Yes. What journey are we supposed to walk? What are the responsibilities that I have to put into that person's life likewise? You know, and which is why I think it makes it a very challenging issue for many youngsters and many, not just youngsters, many relationships out there to have struggles in terms of how the relationship can run. So it's something that I would challenge you, our viewers out there, that sit down with your partner, ask each other, who are you? Where do you come from? Zitini is tagazelo zako. When by that, some others say, no, but Gogo, I don't know tagazelo. What is tagazelo? But by tagazelo, I mean to say, to understand who's your father's father, your mother's mother, all that the nuclear, that will give you this tagazelo. If you, most of the Africans and our upper and globally, they'll have their surnames at Johnsons, at Stevens, and all that. So, but now you will then struggle, say, no, I don't have that. When you said you're Mthibela, Mhlahlandlela, you also have such. So sit down with your partner or whoever that you being in your life or having in your life to say, let's understand who are we, and so in that way, and also commit to certain things so that we both know where we're going. At the end of the day, we may find that some of these relationships need to part, you know, and why does it have
related?
Do you understand? They need to part because even maybe the roles that they have to play, the destination they've reached it, you know. And I'm very intrigued by the understanding of what you just mentioned based on the dance, the show that we just saw. Yes. So, because another thing also, I just need you to unpack for me. When I looked at the dance, there's different ways of movements, and what inspires that movements? Where do you get such, I would say, creativity? Let me put it like that.
Okay, we've used Afrofusion. Afrofusion is a combination of African dances. We didn't want to use African dances because it's not about, South African dances is not about what defines a South African, but what defines an African. So if you can notice, there's more of embracing the gravity,
yes,
and there's more of elevation, because in the other side of Africa we have shamans. Whereby shamans, they do jump, and here in South Africa we have also we kneel before we say anything. Then we have more of treacherous movements. So the piece is based on that, on different African dances.
Okay.
So yeah, it's Afrofusion. It's a technique that you can study at Moving Into Dance in Johannesburg. They do specialize about dance.
So there's a place where one can learn that.
Yes, they specialize about dance. Their signature, it's Afrofusion. It was initiated by Sylvia Klasa, a white woman, old woman now.
Interesting.
So yeah, in this piece we've fused most of our African dances, so that when we go to this section, let's use more of kneeling down and more of gravity. When we use this section, let's use more of stamping. When you go to this section, let's use more of jumping. So each and every movement, it has a story behind the movement. It's not just the sake of moving your body, moving your torso or your pelvis. No, everything, every movement there in that piece, it has a story behind it. It's in line with what I'm narrating. You understand? It's not just Tabang decided to do, okay, if I can do 2 turns and 2 jumps. No, everything it's scripted and aligned with what I'm saying, like he's doing it.
We have our ancestors who used to move in certain ways, walk in certain ways, translate in certain ways, and that's why it narrates that most of the indigenous healers, they dance and move in a certain way. That is our own way, our uniqueness that makes us to be Africans. And with that in mind, I want you to sit back and think, how do I know how my ancestors used to move? Do I even know in my own trace of blood, or don't I? We'll see you now.
Make massive moves.
Isn't that your daughter's bib?
But the truth is, I feel like Arabella's always with me.
Don't you ever forget this man's face. He killed your brother.
Don't shoot! Please don't shoot! Don't shoot!
Make massive moves with Starside.
I want you to eat healthy food because it's delicious.
Make massive moves.
Would you like another one?
I love it.
I love this too. This is amazing. The grits are so creamy. Oh,
I take pride in my grits.
so flavorful.
I think that looks wonderful.
Yeah.
It's so incredible.
Make massive moves with Starside. Make massive moves.
Bible is human and divine.
It's important for us to remember,
and I'm part of God's story.
Yeah, mama, hey. God is sealing you.
God says what he means, and he means what he says.
God is good.
I am very grateful to God. I am healed. Amen.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
The space race has already started. Russia had got the first object in space.
The coast is as wild today as it was when Europeans settled the continent.
Enormous beasts with enormous thirst. The teams are primed and ready.
They got the first animal in space, and they got the first person.
Time to see what the boys can do.
Make massive moves with Starsat.